Hey guys, welcome back to the DNA show. Thank you if you have been listening to us all through this season, and do listen to all our other episodes later if this is your first date with us. Hi Anu, how are you?
Hey Dev, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for asking. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. I welcome you to the DNA show.
So, क्या हाल, क्या प्लान है आज का बताओ?
यार आज कुछ ऐसा डिस्कस करने वाले हैं जो काफ़ी जन एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं.
Hmm.
They don't generally talk about it. And it's a kind of a gray area,
Okay.
which are doctors.
Yeah.
And I think the focus is the experiences with the doctors that we have. And what is the future? Like, what is the future holding for India?
So, you know what? We are on the wrong side of 30s now, right? And we have abused ourselves beyond anything that can be termed as normal. And so,
Yep.
yes, we need doctors practically every week. Sometimes for a new problem, but mostly for the same old chronic issues.
Yep.
And you know what? You're right. Even in a city like Mumbai, there is a serious issue of doctors, and especially the noble doctors. This is not just me making a statement, but in fact, almost every part of media has made a story on this. And our listeners should just Google shortage of doctors to know more about this, or can listen to our story, which has more anecdotes from our lives and our experiences. So this is what happened last week, and I needed a sort of SOS drug to make the ongoing condition comfortable for me.
Okay.
So my wife messaged a doctor whom she had been in touch with for a few years. She messaged him describing my condition and said it was early in the morning. We were not hopeful of getting a reply. But God bless him for that. The doctor replied and he asked us to come and see him at the hospital in the afternoon.
Okay.
But my condition was so bad that I wouldn't survive to see him in the afternoon.
So you wanted some medical treatment?
I wanted
urgent,
immediate help.
immediate help.
So after requesting him, his response was, 500 रुपए जीपे कर दो फिर दवाई बताऊंगा.
What?
Yeah. And I was so flabbergasted by this message that I forgot all my troubles. And all my anger was channelized towards his message. Today, if I think about it very calmly and practically, it does not sound that bad. He was actually asking for his fees before giving a solution to help you, right? Which is fair. But at that moment, I feel like kicking him in his balls. I mean, yeah, putting it very crudely. Now, to get back to my story, after a quick deliberation, we paid him and called for the medicine the doctor recommended. But it did not help, right?
So the situation was same.
Yeah, and as the day started, we started looking for more options on Practo and similar apps. And that is when I realized that there is a serious dearth of good, qualified and noble doctors. And don't forget, Anu, in this profession, nobility is as important as being qualified.
Oh man, that's not a situation you want to be in. There were so many emotions playing together at once. And you're right, Dev. There are so many problems we face, and even as a father, I have struggled to find a good pediatrician for my son.
Dude, this whole situation really frustrates me. There are these hundreds of reports on quantity and how there is a shortage of doctors in government hospitals and rural areas. So I request our listeners to refer to these reports if they are interested in the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to focus our conversation today is on the quality of these doctors and their attitudes from our personal experiences.
Yep.
Right? The absolute insensibility and the lack of empathy from doctors these days really irritates me.
They just treat you as a commodity, right?
Yeah, I mean it's like how a mechanic treats a car, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen mechanics which are more empathetic to the vehicles than the doctors to their patients.
True that.
That's how bad the condition is.
For them, it's like a daily routine. कि ये है, ये
हाँ,
है, ये
मतलब
करो. But they lose the human touch.
Exactly. I understand the world is very, very focused on money and revenue generation. But I think the doctors have to be a little apart from this. They have to step away a little from this. And I will give you a very nice anecdote from our childhood, right?
Yep.
We all remember during our childhood going back to doctors who would give us random white, yellow and orange pills, right? But we were sure that they would heal us.
Yes.
Maybe it was just a placebo, or maybe those pills actually worked. But today, most of our health problems are only procrastinated by spending thousands of rupees. And then we end up paying another few thousands to push it back for a few more days.
Yep.
I understand most of these problems are because of our lifestyle and they need serious improvements to our lifestyle.
Hmm.
But very few doctors would even guide us with that.
They'll just tell you the basic exercise karo, utho, अच्छे से खाओ.
Yeah,
That's about it.
most of their advice is actually just prescribed towards uh, keeping your medication till your last breath.
Yeah. That's how they make money.
Yeah, they actually want to thrive in your suffering, to put it in a very crude manner again.
Yeah.
I remember the issue a few years back, right? Again, as I said, we have lots of physical issues. So this takes me a few years back. I remember visiting a very popular doctor at a large equity owned hospital, a private equity owned hospital.
Equity-owned hospital.
Yeah, so to if it is news to your ears, there are lots of hospitals in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore which are owned by private equity firms,
Wow. So their
because
whole motto is
hospitals are
making money.
money making machines.
Hmm.
And what do private equities want? To make money.
Yep.
So there are a few hospitals across these major metros which are owned by private equity firms.
Are they like out there that this is equity company owned hospital?
I mean, if somebody
If someone has to
follows,
do a research.
if somebody follows Economic Times every day,
Haan.
you would know it,
Okay.
because it's out there. Every equity firm announces when they take over
That they have
a big
tie-up.
project, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a humongous project. India as a country has a huge population. रोज किसी न किसी तबीयत खराब होगी.
बराबर.
तो it's a good revenue generation opportunity. Excellent growth. So it's not new. I was aware of this. So I visited this gastric surgeon. I visited this good doctor who was basically a gastric surgeon, right? And I was completely shocked by his attitude.
So what happened? How did you
Yeah.
get the appointment?
So I took the appointment over the call
Okay.
at the hospital. I visited him exactly 10 minutes before the appointment time. But when my turn came in to meet him, he seemed to be in a real hurry. मतलब
Okay.
ऐसा लग रहा था वो अपना डेली कोटा कंप्लीट करना चाहता है बस. I just gave him one sentence of what issue I had. And you know what he recommended me suddenly?
What?
A intragastric balloon procedure.
What is that?
Yeah, it's a very very serious procedure.
Mm-hmm.
It's to put it very for layman, it's like putting a balloon in your stomach.
Oh.
तो मेरे गैस के इशू का प्रॉब्लम उसका ये था कि
और हार डालो.
हाँ मतलब बलून बिठा लो, कम खाओगे, गैस नहीं होगा.
That's strange.
Yeah, and this he came down to this conclusion after talking to me for 2 minutes.
It's such a short notice. Did he ask you about your...
Nothing.
No
No
history.
discussion on pre-existing conditions. No discussion on history. No discussion on lifestyle. Nothing.
And this was a...
He just judged me from my physical view and said, "ये कर दो." I had to pay him advance at the hospital before seeing him. So I paid about 2,000 rupees to see him, just to get an advice from him कि पेट में balloon बिठा दो. अच्छा, to add cherry on top of this conversation, he said, you should see this physician in the hospital. He will be able to judge if you're fit enough for this procedure.
Oh, so he guided you to another doctor.
Yes, who was again going to charge me another 1,000 rupees for it.
Wow.
So this whole situation just irritates me, right?
I'm sure it irritates everyone.
I ran out of that hospital as fast as I could and have never ever gone back to that hospital. Now, to keep ourselves away from court cases and notices from these hospitals, we are not going to name anyone here.
Yep.
But समझदार को इशारा काफी है. That's my point on this, right? Now, coming to your question, whether we have enough doctors in future, right? In short, definitely not. Whatever the numbers might say, I don't think there will be enough doctors in future to take care of us.
Yep.
See, I'll put it in this way. Currently, India's population in the age bracket of 18 to 35 is about 60 crores.
Okay.
And this is the population that has been celebrated, glorified to make India the third largest economy in the world. Our youth.
Yep.
This is the population that everybody in the world is betting upon, banking upon. But by 20 साल बाद, ये population का
60
एज
साल का
ब्रैकेट
चाहिए,
होगा 38 से 55, विच इज 38 to 55.
where you need the most
Yes.
number of doctor visits.
I'm telling you, when we are 50 years old, we will not even find a doctor to treat hypertension.
Hmm.
Because आज जो डॉक्टर्स हैं, I don't find them qualified or noble enough to help us. I am a pessimist in some ways. I have no hope on the next generation, to be honest. For simple reasons, because the culture is very different now.
Yeah,
At least we were brought up in a generation where डॉक्टर बनना अच्छा था.
true that.
Parents felt proud
We were
of having
pressurized
doctor children.
in a way. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It was more of a social outcome of,
Yeah, it was a
where
good thing to be
doctor
a doctor.
banao,
It was a
engineer
good thing to be a
banao.
doctor, right?
Exactly.
I don't see that happening around us today.
Hmm.
Today, people want to become fashion designers. They want to become content creators. Matlab, it's a different
I
world.
think it's also becoming more of a nepotism kind of a way, where doctors' kids are becoming doctors, and that's a generation of doctors.
I have no problem with that.
Hmm.
Because even if you're a nepo kid, you still have to clear MBBS. You still
Yeah.
have to study hard to become a doctor. मतलब आई डोंट थिंक ये होता है कि डॉक्टर का बेटा एक दिन डिस्पेंसरी में आके बैठ जाएगा, डॉक्टर बन जाएगा.
हाँ, वो तो है.
होता होगा, आई एम नॉट श्योर, बट आई डोंट थिंक दैट्स अ यूजुअल केस. तो नेपोटिज्म से प्रॉब्लम नहीं है जब तक बच्चा पढ़ाई कर रहा है.
हाँ.
बट द प्रॉब्लम इज आई थिंक अ लिटिल बिगर, एंड आई
Yeah.
एम श्योर यू हैव डन सम रिसर्च ऑन दिस.
Yes, Dev.
Yeah.
So I think this frustration is big for everyone,
Hmm.
and what we did, when we had to dig in some numbers
Hmm.
on this podcast, just to give perspective to our listeners, right? India's population is round about 140 crores,
Yeah.
and each year the government and the private colleges churn out about 3 lakh doctors.
Okay.
Now, according to the National Medical Commission, there are about 13 lakh 8,000 odd doctors
Currently in India.
currently in India.
Okay.
And if you put like a doctor to ratio,
Doctor
doctor
to
to
patient
patient
ratio.
ratio, India stands at one doctor per 850 patients,
Okay.
which is good as per the WHO standards of 1 is to 1,000.
Hmm.
So we are churning numbers. But what seems to be the issue is the quality of the doctors.
Okay.
And I widely feel this has to do with the way we select and accept our doctors in our medical colleges across India.
Hmm.
Think about it. A doctor's seat is available for a person whose NEET rank is up to 40 percentile.
मतलब MBA कॉलेज में घुसने के लिए 50% चाहिए होता है.
उससे भी नीचे 40 percentile is what?
नहीं, मैं कह रहा हूँ MBA करने
हाँ.
के लिए 50% चाहिए होता है.
हाँ.
बेसिक मास्टर्स करने के लिए 50% चाहिए होता है. अगर लिटरेचर में PhD करना है तो 50% चाहिए. बट अगर डॉक्टर बनना है तो 40% में बन सकते हो.
And this is mainly because of the caste-based reservations that we have, right?
वाओ.
At the same time, think of this: someone who scored a higher percentile than that person will miss out, as they feel that they're under the general category, and so the system itself will kick them out, right? So someone who's more deserving, जिसने extra मेहनत की है, right? वो बंदा is nowhere in the picture because of his caste. Think of it this way. And I think,
So
I'm sorry, you had a point.
yeah, I just wanted to clarify this. So what you mean is, because there are limited seats in medical,
Yeah.
and there is a large chunk of reserved seats for SC, ST, OBC, and other reserved categories, against whom I have no qualms. I have no agenda against them.
Exactly, same with me.
There is some logic which I won't
Dig into.
right now. That's not our point here. But because of them, somebody who scored a 60 percentile may lose out, because somebody from that reservation category scored a 40 percentile, and
He's eligible to get a seat.
because of his quota.
Yes.
Okay. ठीक है. I understand it now.
So, I mean, I feel bad personally because someone who's put in a lot more efforts is just thrown out of the system.
Absolutely bad, right?
Yeah, and think of the quality of the doctors then, right? Because someone who has worked hard is out of the system, but someone who's put in a little less efforts still manages to get into that college and become a doctor. So how
Wow.
is it fair. Like the IQ of that person is much lower than the person who's already out, right? And
Seriously.
that person is going to guide another person, a human being, for all kind of medical treatments.
Hmm.
So it's a very dark spot, and I think that's where major of general category people fly off to different countries for you know doing their MBBS.
It's not just dark, bro. It's troubling, right?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
think about it. When you go to a doctor, you don't think about his caste or his background.
Oh, I have a different opinion there. And this is completely out of an experience a
Hmm.
friend shared with me.
Hmm.
So they were hunting for a doctor,
Hmm.
and I just gave them this number, and they ended up looking at the last name,
Hmm.
and I was like, why are you doing that?
Hmm.
And they were like,
That is discrimination.
yeah, that is discrimination. And I was like, Kiar, you never know, this person has got a seat because of his caste, so how do I trust him in his medical grounds?
Wow.
So this is the kind of impact
Thought
that,
process that,
yes,
oh, so this is how caste system is impacting our today's mind, right?
yes,
I mean, you think about going to a doctor not based on his qualification,
yes,
but based on what his surname is.
yes, because it'll be easy for them to crack into an MBBS seat. And
It defies the purpose of having a reservation system,
yes,
right? You wanted to give representation to a community because they were exploited,
yeah, which we understand, and
and
it's
today, because of the same quota,
hmm,
they are being discriminated because people don't find them uh, qualified enough to
they have
practice
their
their
doubts.
profession.
I mean, we have limited options,
Hmm.
right? And you'll always have that doubt. So that kind of provoked my thought कि oh shit, ये angle पे तो मैंने कभी सोचा नहीं.
Exactly, because we have been brought up in a community or a society which
E-
does not discriminate on people.
exactly. But there are
Wow.
people out there who are thinking this way, right? And
Hmm.
I also have a very strong second point.
Hmm.
Think of it. This generation of parents
Yeah.
will not force their kids to be a doctor or an engineer.
Yeah.
We want them to decide for themselves as per their line of interest. But
हाँ
there is
मतलब
no
कोई
awareness
कंटेंट क्रिएटर
created.
बन रहा है कोई फैशन डिजाइनर बन
हाँ,
रहा
exactly. तो you know how it was glorified at our times कि डॉक्टर बनो भाई,
है हाँ
you
हाँ
will have
मतलब
इज्जत वाली जिंदगी, आपके सिग्नेचर में पावर रहेगा, ये
एग्जैक्टली
रहेगा, वो रहेगा. That is not there today. The reason being is getting into a medical college is so tough.
हम्म
Okay, if you are getting into a private college for an MBBS, the average fees is ranges from 25 lakhs to a crore rupees.
वाओ नो डाउट द डॉक्टर चार्ज मी ए बॉम्ब
Yeah, and think of it, this is just your fees, your
हम्म
hostel, your stay, all the other expenses are just an add on. So how will a middle class parent, right, think of spending that amount of money, right? Either you'll have an option of घर बनाना है या बच्चे को पढ़ाना है.
एग्जैक्टली
And
एंड वो
this is
एंड
current situation. Think
हाँ
of it.
दिस एवरीथिंग इज द कॉस्ट इज ओनली गोइंग टू एस्केलेट राइट
Exactly.
आई एम श्योर गवर्नमेंट इज स्पेंडिंग ऑन मेकिंग न्यू मेडिकल कॉलेजेस
Yeah.
बट आई डोंट थिंक supply is an issue here.
Hmm.
uh, the issue really is the belief in the system.
Yep.
I think, bro, you made a very valid point here. And to add to your point on reservation, like you mentioned earlier, a large number of really bright and aspiring candidates do not even try to get into Indian medical colleges, right?
Hmm.
They are so discouraged by the reservation quota and the insane cost of pursuing this education uh, that they decide to migrate
Yeah.
to
Why not? Why
foreign
why
lands.
spend like a crore in India where 50 lakhs me you can go abroad and do it?
Exactly. Now, listen to this stat that I'm telling you now, right? This is the most shocking thing I read in the last few years.
Okay.
And this really nails your point of migration.
Hmm.
In US, there is one Indian doctor for every 325 American citizens.
What?
And again, I don't mean one doctor,
One
but one
Indian doctor.
Indian doctor for every 325 American citizens. And this is not a number I'm pulling out of thin air.
Hmm.
This is number published by NIH, the
Okay.
National Institute of Health. It's a organization which basically looks after the data and the research of American medical industry.
Wow.
So Imagine this, right? For a country as challenging as India, we have one doctor for every 900 citizens.
Roundabout, yeah.
But for a developed country like America, it has one doctor for one third of that number. And he's an Indian doctor. This is not just doctor, they have more doctors.
Yeah, of course.
They just don't have Indian doctors. They have American doctors, they have migration from all over the world.
Exactly.
So they have a better ratio, probably 1 is to 100. I don't even know. I have not looked at that number.
Hmm.
But this stat just boggles me.
Brain drain to the maximum
Exactly.
capacity.
That is why we don't have good doctors.
Yeah.
Imagine somebody, I mean, we know somebody who went to Russia to study MBBS, right?
Yes.
And he is very clear, he's never coming back. He says, I have paid in rubles, let me earn in rubles.
True that.
I mean, and that's Russia. It's not
Yeah.
the most promised land. It's going through its own crisis.
Hmm.
But he preferred Russia over India.
No, I think it's also got to do with how the colleges work, right? Doctors are stressed out.
Yeah.
They are working, especially the junior doctors. I've seen them working 18 hours, 19 hours. Sometimes just a stupid question to them might just piss them off, right? Like, मेरे को ये दर्द हो रहा है, क्यों हो रहा है? Right? Just a small thing might just trigger his emotions because no one is talking about the stress that they go through.
Yeah.
And over
And
a
that is
period of
because
time, they become insensitive,
and
I
that is
feel.
again added because of the shortage of doctors.
Yes, yes.
Because there aren't enough doctors, whoever are there around have to work harder, longer, and in worse conditions.
Yep,
I mean, we all know what was the condition of doctors during COVID.
yep.
They all suffered, right? They were the
The
first
front
line. They were the
load.
front line,
Yep.
right? And see, it is only possible to solve this problem once the admission system becomes a little more sympathetic towards merit holders
Hmm.
instead of the caste and backgrounds. I mean, if you want to really get rid of discrimination, stop discriminating. That's it.
Exactly. Look at financial background and
Yeah.
give the admissions. There are a lot of people who are in general
Hmm.
category. They don't have money. They want to pursue. They have the brain. They have the skill, but they just can't keep it up.
Yeah.
Like,
And in addition, there has to be a strict cap on the fees and the donations that the private
oh,
colleges charge.
yeah, that's like a different ball game
I mean,
altogether.
unless that is solved, we will not have noble doctors serving our society.
You know, when you talk about the fees, I remember this incident of one of our acquaintance
Hmm.
who had a admission in Nasik
Hmm.
for the medical college,
Hmm.
and he had to carry cash.
Okay.
I'm not
No
giving the
college.
amount of cash that he had to carry,
Yeah.
but it was a big lump of cash that he had to carry just for donation, which was in black.
Wow. I
So
mean, see, sincerely, why will a doctor be noble if he's paying 1 crore on his admission?
he has to recover his money.
Yeah, he needs to recover his investment, right? And if a person pays only a few lakh rupees for his education, he might become a little more empathetic and considerate
Yeah,
because he does not have to pay the loans. He does not have to get his house back from the mortgage that he
true.
took to pay off his education. I mean, this is really the crux of the problem that I see, right? Uh, Rework the education system, make
Hmm.
it merit based, and rework the whole financials and commercials of the sector.
It's a
Because
big
we,
lobby. It's a big
yeah,
lobby.
it's a big lobby, but those lobbies also have to understand one day they are going to need a doctor.
Yeah,
And that time, do they want a doctor who is going to ask them, oh, first of all, do they want a doctor who is qualified? Or do they want a doctor who is in there with 40 percentile?
yeah. And to add to it, Dave,
Hmm.
money is a big thing, right? And I've seen a lot of hospitals
Hmm.
who have given targets to doctors, right?
Hmm.
You have to churn out X number of revenue. And this is from someone that we know, that I don't want to give out names,
Yeah,
but
obviously.
it's shocking, right? A person with the stature of a doctor
Hmm.
has to do sales,
Wow.
has to churn out number of patients, has to detect problems that a person does not have. And this is just maybe 10% of what India is seeing. But let me give you another example
Yeah.
of during the first COVID wave. You remember one of the families getting admitted to the hospital together.
Yes, yes, yes.
4 of them
Hmm.
who got COVID,
Hmm.
they were put into a hospital.
Hmm.
General medical. I think they were there for 7 days.
Hmm.
The bill came up to 18 lakhs.
For how many days was this?
7 days, 4 people.
Wow.
All stuck in one room.
It's like buying a package to Switzerland.
18 lakhs. I
Yeah.
mean, and when I saw their bill, right? They were charged for PPE kits, all 4 of them,
Hmm.
individually
Hmm.
in their bills. Like person A, B, C, D all had PPE kit charges
Wow.
for everyone every day twice, depending on the number of nurses and doctors that they attended.
Hmm.
अगर आज 4 जन गए
Hmm.
तो 4 जन का into 4,000 into 4.
Wow.
So that's how they were making money. And I'm sure they were not removing the PPE kit and wearing another one and going to another person, right? I mean,
Matlab, I honestly don't want to get into it because
Yeah,
COVID
I mean-
was a exceptional time.
hmm,
People might have taken exceptional steps. There were cost involved. But see, in all honesty, everyone agrees. And everyone, when I mean everyone, even the doctors to a large extent agree that what's happening in the healthcare industry today is borderline criminal.
hmm,
Nobody's going to talk about it because all those hospitals and doctors have lawyers on fat retainers.
Yep.
Right? Where is all this money going? Somebody's earning, right?
yeah,
And a large chunk is going to those lawyers on fat retainers. And hence I told you we will keep away from mentioning any name, pointing fingers at anyone.
true
This
that.
is just our opinion, right?
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
this is not a jibe to anyone who's
Yeah.
trying to pursue. I don't want to demotivate anyone who's trying to pursue, MBBS. I think this is more of a personal thought that we had, and we thought of talking about it because it is an important factor in the future of India, right? If we are moving towards a $5 trillion economy with so much of population, we need good healthcare systems. We need the government to intervene, create good doctors, talk about empathy and sympathy when you become a doctor. I think they should have a separate 6-month session on it.
you know how doctors talk about their Hippocratic oath, right?
Yeah.
I think that Hippocratic oath has to mean something.
Hmm.
They have to start living by it. There has to be more, not policing per se, but more, they have to just become more conscious.
Yep.
They have to understand that,
There is a karma behind everything.
yes, there is karma behind everything. You can't fuck up so bad.
Yeah.
You can't. See, जब डॉक्टर के पास जाते हो ना तो कोई ये नहीं देखता कि यही मेरा बजट है.
Hmm. Exactly.
गाड़ी खरीदो, घर खरीदो, वेकेशन पे
चीज में
जाओ,
budget
हर
आता
चीज में बजट होता. हॉस्पिटल के लिए कोई बजट नहीं होता.
Exactly. You have to go with
Yeah,
open
मतलब
hands.
if you have a mediclaim, you're good. And उसके बाद भी कुछ पैसे भरने पड़ेंगे.
Exactly.
But God save you if you don't have a mediclaim.
Hmm.
You're just gone. It's end of the road for you. I have heard stories where people have lost their households and they still couldn't save their families.
Sad.
And this is not during COVID. Pre-COVID, post-COVID, both.
Yep.
Because there are hospitals out there who are just revenue churning machines.
Hmm.
And hence private equities are behind them, right? So guys, this is not a jibe at anyone. This is not pointing fingers at anyone, not even the government. We are just two ordinary citizens talking our heart out,
Cribbing, probably.
just ranting out, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's why we created this platform.
Yep.
To just rant out. So do write into us if you have similar thoughts. Do write into us if you have similar stories. We'll be happy to bring them about on our show. Do like, share, subscribe to the
The
DNA,
DNA
show. And stay tuned. We will be coming out with a few more episodes very soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, guys.
And that was Dave and Anirudh, your hosts for the DNA Show. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to rate us on your streaming platform. This episode was recorded at Manicpod Studios. Your executive producers are Ankita Dwivedi and Jayashri Pisharadi, and your sound engineers are Rohit Das and Mainak Chakraborty. The production for this podcast was coordinated by Arnav Dogra. Stay tuned in for more exciting content.